So hi, thanks for joining us today. We're going to be discussing what we see working in hospitality, working with numerous customers and what we see working in the wider sector. Before we begin, just kind of start with a little bit of housekeeping. We are recording the session. We expect the session to last no more than about 30 minutes. And we welcome questions. If you've got questions, feel free to drop them in the Q&A. And certainly, if we've got a chance, we'll try and answer them. And if not, we can reach out directly following the webinar. So one thing I'd like to start with is thinking briefly about expectations and how, or more specifically, how those expectations have changed in recent years, and particularly with the introduction of things like technology. So imagine it took you 15 minutes to check the weather. Most of us do this daily, and I certainly do. But if it took me any longer than a few minutes, it would drive me crazy. I'd probably delete the app. I'd find another way to get the information I need. But we're so used to getting that information quite so quickly with things like smartphones, widgets, and watch notifications. You just expect it now. And I simply can't imagine it taking any longer than a minute to get that information. And why are things any different in hospitality? And from the operators that we speak to, that's exactly how they feel about kind of getting some of their own data and getting some of their own numbers. I mean, we work with operators where they have to log into multiple till systems and labor systems, booking systems and stock, and maybe they have to combine that all together in a spreadsheet and spread that kind of across multiple platforms. All of the work they're doing is manual and it's time consuming. It's a slow process, but for some reason, from what we see and from the customers we speak to, it just seems to be accepted as the norm because that's the way it's kind of always been. I remember once working with an ops director, and he would spend one full day every month pulling together all the various reports and getting them in the correct format, being able to drive the insights to us, his team. But all of that information should be relatively available quite quickly. They should be able to identify which site dipped yesterday, what we're not promoting and what we should be. Are Saturday's bookings up or are they down? Or are all my stock levels adequate for the football we've got on tonight? Answering those questions in seconds should be the norm, and that's where we're heading, really.
Thanks, John, for setting the scene of this afternoon's webinar. So what qualifies us to talk to all of you about hospitality and solutions? And for those of you that aren't familiar with Ometis, let me give you a little bit of background and context as to who we are and what we do. We're a data analytics and AI consulting business. We actually work across a whole variety of different industry sectors, but we specialise primarily in the hospitality sector. And you'll see that there's a number of operators listed on screen there. So we work with all sorts of different operators, whether they are QSR, fast casual dining, pubs and bars, whether they're in hotels or competitive socializing. We work across all of those different industry sectors, and we've got solutions for all of them. So some of our customers, the likes of Pizza Express here and Burger King, they have a bespoke solution from us. So that's one where we've worked together on building a solution specifically for them that fits their technology strategy, the particular technologies that are important to them. But that's not what everybody wants. Operators like Mission Mars and Tortilla, for example, they don't want to have systems where they have to go and buy software, subscribe to software, manage and maintain those systems. They don't want to have the challenges around data integration. They simply want the outcomes. They want the ability to be able to get access to the data that they need quickly, easily, on an ad hoc basis. They want the flexibility and agility. And that's where our Taholo AI fully managed solution comes in. So we can offer you the types of solutions that may work best for you. We have a dedicated hospitality team that work purely with our hospitality customers, and they're made up of data engineers, analysts, strategists, and also ex-operators as well. So people who really understand your business, the challenges that you're facing, and the solutions that you need, and can help you come up with practical solutions that will make a difference in your business. So we'd like to think we really understand the hospitality sector well, that we've got customers similar to you already, and that we can come up with practical solutions to help you. So a little bit of background about both of us. My background is that I co-founded a business called Tahola back in 2000. And then towards the end of 2024, beginning of 2025, Ometis and Tahola came together as one single business. We brought our hospitality expertise into the business, and I've taken on the role now of business development director, working primarily with our hospitality customers. So I suppose you could say that really I am the commercial lead within Ometis for our hospitality business. John, what's your background?
Yeah, so my background is purely hospitality. I spent 20 plus years in hospitality, from operations to finance, and was most recently kind of head of FP&A for a multi-site UK-based company. I'm now the head hospitality data strategist at Ometis, and it's my job to work with operators to help kind of turn data into decisions, help you make better decisions using the data, and really challenge the status quo and what we see as the norm around sometimes quite tedious and outdated processes.
Great, thanks, John. So let's get into the detail of this afternoon's webinar. We all know how challenging the hospitality sector has become in recent years. We're continually burdened with more and more costs onto our businesses, making it much more difficult for us to grow those businesses and sustain a healthy profit. And it's becoming more and more difficult. And the consequence of that is operators look for mechanisms to cut those costs. And, they will use tools like, unfortunately, making job cuts or closing sites. And sadly, in some cases, they may have to close the business altogether. So, it's becoming a more and more difficult problem and a bigger challenge for operators to solve. And these are statistics that, we're seeing regularly. So we need to find ways to help operators. We don't have a magic bullet, but there are solutions that we can offer that may be helpful. So John, can you talk to us a little bit about maybe some of the things that we can do to help operators?
Yeah, absolutely. And as Simon said, the challenges that everyone's facing are largely similar. Similar cost base, it's a similar challenge. And what we see from the customers that we work with is that winning isn't about making a change to it, but winning is about being able to see the answer first, being able to see into the data, draw the insight, and act on it in time. So if we just can kind of consider these three scenarios, kind of being overstaffed on a quiet Tuesday night, when did you find out? I imagine largely it's after the fact. Maybe it's in a post-shift review from the manager on duty. Maybe it's reviewing the rota the following day or even the following week. But it's too late by that point. The labour hours and the money therefore is spent. Another scenario of kind of not having enough steaks ordered for a busy weekend. Well, under-ordering for a busy weekend is a cardinal sin in hospitality, and when is it reported? And the answer to that, from my experience, is largely on the Monday or the following stock take. Again, too late for any action to be taken and for a behavioural change. And finally, spotting those revenue trends, and imagine a site was 3 weeks down a row. When is it highlighted? How is it brought to attention? And largely in a monthly review, when you're actually sitting down to review that data. And from what we see, that late answers, they're costly, they're expensive. And our job at Ometis is to help you close the gap and close that knowledge and insight gap, and to be able to make real-time decisions and create behavioural change within the business.
So what you're saying, John, is that, working with our customers, we've been able to identify places where, opportunities exist to help them through the data that they've got available.
Yeah, absolutely. And we could showcase some of them later on.
Yes, and we're going to do that. And it's interesting because we've recently sponsored some independent research through a company called IDC, IDC are a global market intelligence and an advisory firm. They specialize in IT and telecoms, and they carry out research into lots of different areas. And on our behalf, they asked 100, over 100 operators, what's the current situation? What are the things that you really feel that you need to focus on? And there was one thing that really stood out, and that was that over the next 12 months, data, analytics, reporting, and AI is going to be the area that operators really want to invest their time, effort, and money into. They know about the challenges that are existing in their businesses, and they know that if they can get to the right information, then there are solutions there to help them. The challenge is trying to uncover those solutions. The report's going to be available for all of you. I think Trish is going to share it in the chat. I think that she's just done it. So by all means, download it and share it with your colleagues and have a read of it. But the data and analytics area is the one that they were really focused on. And when we dig into this in a little bit more detail, it's almost like the same old problem, if you like. It's the thing that John and I and our team have been hearing from operators for a long, long time. It's getting access to data. It's getting access to the right level of granularity of data. It's getting access to the ability to create information and insight quickly and easily. It's being able to combine data with different data sources together to create insights that just previously weren't available. And I had this exact conversation with a casual dining operator this morning who said to me, we've got all of the systems in place. We can take bookings. We can, we've got a point of sale system to handle all of our sales, and all of our labour is in place and all of that, but we have no insight. Our reporting is slow and clunky. It takes us almost a month to close our month end. And the technologies are available to help them solve these problems. So what do you think we can do, John, to help these operators? Are there solutions available?
Yeah, absolutely. So one of the things we've developed here at Ometis is a three-stage framework, really, and we take all of our customers through this, no matter whether they are a bespoke customer, whether they're looking at our managed solution. We always start with the foundations, and that is all about kind of getting clean, connected data, validating that data, reconciling it, and ensuring that there's trust in that data. And from here, we can apply this AI framework. So it's automation. So that's all about saving time, saving your team's time, removing the manual intervention that's required. Before we move on to anything, we've got to ensure that is in place, as that's fundamental to the next steps. Insight is the next step, and all that is all about extracting the correct information and the correct insight to drive the business forward. It's about getting the right information into operators' hands in time, and in the right manner. And then that final piece is innovation, and that's all about looking ahead. We've got customers now building chatbots for their staff, using forecasting to predict the impact of potential offers, and introducing FP&A solutions to support more accurate planning. But what we always anticipate is that customers will try and jump to that kind of third step first, and it's important to complete the framework in the correct order, to ensure that you get the best outcome. All three of the things are important, but the best results come from those who really get the foundations right. And if I just talk a little bit more about these three kind of pillars of the framework, if we talk about automation, we know automation is all about saving time. We know so many hospitality businesses that rely quite heavily on sometimes quite labour-intensive manual processes for what is almost routine reporting. And it probably wasn't that long ago that some people on the call had team members who were compiling kind of daily sales reports. And we always make excuses as to why we have to do that. Some will say it's because they've got sites in different time zones. Others will say it's because they've got sites on different systems and they need to make manual adjustments for labour. But really, these are just smoke screens that hide kind of the bigger problem of what's going on, and that's not having a clean, connected data set. And if you're listening to this thinking that kind of none of that applies to you, and you've already automated that step of the process, I guess I'd ask you to question how many of you had employees sat there on Monday pulling together a weekly report and how much time went into that. And undoubtedly there were probably errors due to that kind of that human intervention, really. Tortilla is a customer of ours, and they had this exact problem where their Monday morning was spent with their team kind of drowning in spreadsheets, and they were pulling various data sets together and trying to come up with a coherent answer. They had little trust in the data, the processes were entirely manual, and it was time consuming. Tortilla are actually a Tahoro AI customer, so they're our managed solution, and through the power of AI now we automate all of those reports. There's no manual intervention, no inefficient systems, and no spreadsheets required. They've just got kind of clean, correct and insightful data delivered in the correct way to their teams. And as we got on screen there, that is mobile ready. It can be reporting by exception. So rather than giving them rows and rows of information, we can just give them the right information at the right time. And it includes report distribution. So we're aware that not everyone's going to want to dial into a system and pull out the answers. We can distribute reports to the correct people in the correct manner at the correct time. But really, it's important to get that right, get those fundamentals right, have a clear kind of clean data set underneath, and then we can layer on the automation. And once we've done that, we can move around and we can start to look at kind of how we can provide some insight. And that's providing insight to the wider business. And we've said before that insight is about extracting information for your team to really help drive that business forward. And some of this insight's been around for years. And if we take, I mean, I've got on screen there, if we take spend per head and participation as an example of this, this has been discussed in boardrooms across country for years. I've been discussing this for countless years in operational settings. But how often do we use the insight garnered from spend and participation information to actually change and challenge behaviour? And a really good example of this is the team at Fo, and Fo, one of our customers who are actually on a bespoke solution. So they've got a from the ground up data analytics solution built entirely just for them. And we work with them to be able to track upsells. We went one step further than just tracking upsells on a site basis, but by getting them by employee. And they're able to get that information delivered, and they're able to track it over time and track trend data. And what they found was they managed to uncover the employees and the sites that were performing consistently well. And they took that one step further, and they challenged those employees to tell them why and what they were doing and how that differed from many other employees within the business. And they used that insight to then reformat training material and to really challenge the behavior of the wider company. And it should be therefore kind of no surprise to anyone that once they've done all that in quite a quick fashion, because of the readily available data, was that there was a subsequent kind of increase in spend per head. And that's something that everyone's trying to achieve. It's trying to drive more sales growth from the customers they've already got before they lay on the burden of acquiring additional covers. So it was something that we supported Fo with, and really pleased to see the outcome of the work they were completing there. And the final piece here is innovation, and that's all about looking ahead. And I said before, we've got customers who are building chatbots, experimenting with predictive forecasting and working with FP&A solutions. But it should come of no surprise to really anyone on the call today that all of those kind of opportunities that customers are exploring, they all involve some element of AI. AI is the topic of the moment. It's the buzzword. It's kind of it's on every PE company's lips, and everyone's trying to uncover how to use it. But I guess my opinion on AI is slightly different, and it's that we shouldn't try and use it for the sake of it. We should only use it when it adds value. It's not because it's kind of cool or of the moment, or because an investor wants to be seen as being proactive, but it's when it truly adds value to the employee, adds value to the customer, and therefore adds value to the business. I'm sure there's many of you on the call here who can kind of share stories of quite how easy it is to buy AI. It's really easy to set calls and buy it. Governing it is not so easy. And my kind of thought process is that IT teams are largely probably likely to become kind of HR departments almost for AI in the coming years. But implemented well and governed correctly, AI can help answer questions. It can provide insight really quite quickly. It can provide insight in a quicker fashion than we're used to. And the example I had on screen there was looking at the impact of increasing the cost of particular categories at peak times. And traditionally, that's work you would have to do by manually pulling EBOS data out and kind of transforming it into some form of model that would give you the answer. You can take that one step further and say, what would the impact be on company margin if I was to make that change? But with the use of things like AI, and in that example, we've overlaid Claude on top of our Taholo AI solution. We're able to answer that quite quickly. But as I said right at the start, all of that's only achievable if the foundations are solid. You've got data in a central place to use. That data is clean, it's trusted, it's cohesive, it's been validated, it's been reconciled, and from there you can really begin to make some challenging decisions and really drive the businesses forward.
I think it's also fair to say, John, isn't it, that our customers continue to build new dashboards and new reports for their businesses. They're not seeing AI as a replacement for the future of their reporting and analysis. There is still a requirement for those dashboards and that distribution. But what we're seeing AI really doing is engaging with a wider audience within the business, particularly some of the senior team who just love the idea of being able to ask questions, in an environment that they're very familiar with.
Yeah, absolutely. And using AI and the likes of Claude and ChatGPT and Copilot, etc., is really useful for certain use cases like the one we put on screen there. But it shouldn't replace the day-to-day, and the dashboards, I think, will always be around to support the business. And some of these businesses will have thousands of employees spread out across the country or multiple countries, and having that data available in a dashboard is absolutely vital. And those dashboards can be automated as well, and they can be distributed so they can form reports also. I think the power of AI is when you really start to interrogate large data sets. But as I say, you've got to have that kind of clear data foundation to begin with. Otherwise, you've got AI questioning incorrect or bad data. And the last thing anyone wants is to be making decisions off incorrect data.
So then to summarize, our AI foundation is the automation, the bringing together of all of those different data sources into one structured platform that enables us then to do automated report distribution and analysis. It enables us then to move on to insight, where we can explore that data and drill into it and uncover opportunities that we just didn't know were there previously. But also it allows us then to move on to innovation, where we can add in new tools such as the AI capability that everybody is talking about with an MCP server. So you can bring along your preferred AI tool, but also add in things like FP&A as well to do the improved forecasting, particularly around budgeting and forecasting of sales. So
we've got another question from Tariq, which seems like a no-brainer for big businesses. How do we support smaller independent pub businesses who don't have the capacity to even look at this? How do we get them to think about AI and data more?
So that was one of the reasons why we developed the Taholo AI platform. The Taholo AI platform is designed to be entirely scalable. So whilst a lot of our customers might be medium to large sized, we have some smaller customers as well. The pricing model around Taholo AI is based on number of sites. So if you've only got a small number of sites, then that will equate to the investment that you would make as well. So if you want to talk more specifically about the particular challenges that you've got and whether or not we could help, more than happy to follow that up with you, and we can take that on board.
Really helpful. If anyone's got any further questions, we're running out of time now. I don't want to keep anyone any longer, but really appreciate you joining us today. If you have further questions, our contact details are on screen, and we'll be sharing access to the webinar afterwards. And I'd just like to thank you all for joining us today. and we look forward to seeing you on one of our events shortly.